Good morning, gang. Happy Sunday morning. Happy New Year's Eve. And there we have it. The end of 2023. Another year in the books. 2024. Doesn't look any better. But as it's traditional around here on New Year's Eve, it's time to see if pinball is a direct descendant of Nostradamus. And as usual, the overwhelming answer will be no. Last year was a pretty good year. I think I was 7-3 on my predictions. This year, I don't think it's going to be that good. So, wanted to get into it and eat crow where crow needs to be eaten, and pat myself on the back where that is deserved. Again, these were all my opinions and kind of what I prepped for throughout the year. If I'm right, hey, great. If I'm wrong, doesn't mean that it couldn't happen in January, however it would be. So, taking a look. So, let's get into what we thought was going to happen this year and see how accurate we were. So, starting here. 23. Numero uno. Inflation. Now, inflation's currently at 7.1% on the latest numbers we have, which are November's. Okay, we won't get December's numbers until January, and obviously that would be after today. So, well, we're at 7.1 now, and good inflation runs about 2%. The Fed is trying to get us back there, though they've tweaked that number to say, maybe we'll get it to 3. I don't see it getting any better than 5%. Okay, so there's the first one, and I was wrong. Current core CPI number is 4%. Last time I did math, 4 is below 5. So, yes, where I thought we would see at least 5% inflation in 2023, it got below that. Do I believe the numbers out of the government? No. I go to the grocery store, I go to Walmart just like anybody else does. Okay, I've seen prices much higher than a 4% increase. However, we have to go off of some sort of common number, if you will, and that's what it is. So we'll start 2023 with the 0 for 1. So let's get into the second prediction of the year here. Number 2. What's that inflation number going to affect? Unemployment. Now, again, I'm going to go off of official numbers because that's all we got to go off of, right? So I'm going to go off of the U6 numbers, right? Right now, the current U6 unemployment figure is 6.4%. I'm betting we easily go over 10% sometime this year, simply, okay, if we don't stay there all year. Well, I guess my prognostication skills aren't starting off the year too well. No, we never got above 10% for the year, and we certainly didn't finish at 10% of the year. We finished at 7% for the year. So, even though I'm wrong, because I said 10%, how's Bidenomics working for you? On New Year's Day, 2023, the U6 unemployment rate was 6.4%. On New Year's Eve, going into 2024, we're at 7%. The unemployment rate has raised 10% this year, guys. The overall unemployment rate isn't 10%, but we are 10% higher today than we were at the beginning of the year for people unemployed in this country. I'm wrong because of what I said, but my logic to what was going on, if we went back further into it, I was talking about because of illegals and et cetera, was correct. Bidenomics keeps telling us that, the economy's great, right? The media tries to shove that down our throat. No. More people are unemployed today than were at the beginning of the year. That's not a sign of a good economy. Let's go on to number 3. Number 3, War 1. We're going to see boots on the ground in Ukraine in 2023. U.S. troops. Okay. This is still Joe's war. He wants to keep it going. It's going to be more than just us sending people to man a missile system or whatever. We are going to see combat troops on the ground in Ukraine. All right, so I continue my offer as we go on along. Officially, we have not seen combat troops in Ukraine, but then officially we know, unofficially we know they're there. It's just kind of like the Vietnam deal. We didn't have any troops, but we had CIA troops and we had privately contracted troops, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But no, I can't take that as being correct. I was expecting we would see infantry units or special forces units or something in Ukraine. We did not. So we're not starting out really good. That's 0 out of my first 3. Let's see if I get any better with number 4. Number 4. War number 2. China will go into Taiwan this year. Okay. And we're going to see U.S. involvement here as well. Because remember the other place that Joe has deep ties to and Hunter has deep ties to? China. Okay. All right. Well, I was right with the part of war number 2, except I was wrong with the part of where. Nope, China has not gone into Taiwan yet. So can't say I was correct. So that makes me 0 for 4. We're not off to a good start. But Joe managed to find a second war. And obviously, that's the Gaza war. And so now we just continue watching and watching and waiting for China to play the long game until China goes into Taiwan. Hasn't happened yet. Surprised it didn't. But no war in Taiwan as of yet. Moving on. Number 5. Oil. This one is kind of goes to our inflation numbers, our unemployment numbers, et cetera, et cetera. The petrodollar is dying. The petro yuan is growing. We're going to see more I do that all the time. More countries abandon the petrodollar and start using the petro yuan. We're going to see a second market open around the world, i.e. Russian oil being sold. We already see it being sold to China, to India, to et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They're not going to be using the dollar. They're going to be buying oil in an alternative currency, which inevitably is going to turn into the petro yuan. Well, even a broken clock is right 2 times a day, right? Figure eventually I was going to get one right. The oil markets, yep, we did see the slow demise or the beginning of the demise for the petrodollar. We did see secondary markets open up in or around the world buying oil in yuan instead of buying oil in dollars. That trend is going to probably continue, especially when we have BRICS get closer and closer and closer. Of course, right now we have gas prices down, and I think it was here. I think I paid $2.65 or $2.68, something like that today. Of course, this is going to be touted by Biden as, look what I did to gas prices, et cetera, how great things are. Before anybody wants to stop and think there, they won't remember that the day Joe took office, gas prices were $1.70. Okay. So even though we're at $2.68 here, that's still nearly $1 higher than it was when he took office. Of course, why do we have the lower oil prices? Well, Joe's making deals with the devil. Hey, we've got Venezuela pumping gas, pumping oil for the United States all the time because we're supporting another communist country. It's always a great idea, when you are a communist, Joe, why not support your buddies, Maduro, So, but yeah, we can put that one in the win column. So after halfway through, we are 1 and 4. Let's go on to number 6. Number 6, utilities and the grid. Okay. If we don't see a grid failure somewhere, I mean, worse than the Christmas outage and the whole Duke Energy deal that we saw here last week, I'm going to be very surprised. Okay. The utility companies and the politicians are all going to come out and say, we need to do something immediately to harden our grid, to improve our grid, et cetera, et cetera. So they're going to tack on extra fees and extra taxes somewhere for grid improvement. All right, so this one is a little convoluted, but yeah, actually it's true. It just wasn't kind of explained to us the way we thought, or I thought it would be. We have seen added fees and added taxes to our electric bills. I checked with a couple of different places because my per kilowatt hour charge did not go up at all, but the added taxes and added fees did go up. So that was part of what I said. They didn't come out and say it was grid improvement, but we did get expanded home energy credits this year. So the incentives to go solar or go wind or geothermal or anything, alternative to electricity, we did get that. So, like I said, a little convoluted. They did raise the rates on the electricity, or the fees and taxes on the electricity that we get from the power companies, and then tried to convince everybody, well, if you want to get rid of those fees and taxes, go green. So I'm going to count that one as a win. Maybe somebody will say, maybe not so much, whatever. But the best I can say is I was more right than wrong on this one. Moving on. That's right. Number 7, housing and land. Okay, now this kind of goes back. I doubt a whole lot of people are even considering buying housing or land, but people always have to move. Okay, we are a mobile people. All right. Mortgage rates are going to stay up around the 7% range all throughout the year. They're not dropping. Okay, this is going to be where we are, 6, 7, somewhere thereabouts. Home prices will drop a little bit. Okay, not significantly. I don't think we're going to see a housing crash. Okay, again. All right, so there were 2 parts to number 7 here, actually 2 predictions in here. So the first part where I said what you just saw, that mortgage rates were going to stay near 7%. 30-year mortgage closed on Friday, December 29th at 6.95%. Say that was a pretty accurate guess. Also said that we'd see a slight dip in home prices. Yeah, second half of the year, we saw a slight dip. Did not see a crash. We did see prices peak out in late summer and start to slow down. So that's the first half. Okay. The problem is there's going to be nothing affordable for people to buy in big cities, blue states, etc. California, New York, Illinois, forget it. Boston, you're not going to find affordable homes. So this is the part of the prediction that I'm saying. You will see an even greater outflow of people from the expensive states to the more budget-friendly states. You'll see a big migration from blue to red, basically. The other part you're going to see in this is young people, your millennials, are going to raise hell because apartments aren't going to be affordable. Housing isn't going to be affordable. They have nowhere to go. And when the people start moving from New York, Illinois, Massachusetts, California, whatever, to the blue state or to the red states, the companies are going to move as well. And so all the kids are going to go, I can't afford to buy anything here. I can't afford to rent anything here. and there's no job for me to go to. All right, so that was part 2 of this prediction. I don't care if it's a troll, if it's a hater on the channel. You're going to be hard pressed to find anything about this that I was wrong about. The migration from blue to red has increased this year. The affordability of houses in blue states is unattainable, unachievable. And states like Florida, North Carolina, Tennessee, Texas, Idaho, the Dakotas, Missouri are all seeing big influxes of people moving from blue to red. You're also seeing businesses saying, we're not staying in California. California's policy shut us down. We're moving out. We're going to Nevada. We're going to Tennessee, whatever. So through 7, I'm getting closer to 500. We're at 3 and 4. Let's see what the last 3 bring. Number 8, food prices. In line with inflation, expect more accelerated food inflation. As usual, the government numbers on inflation will be skewed, but I'm betting on at least another 25% increase in food. Okay. I think y'all can agree with me that we probably saw somewhere between 40 and 50% on average food inflation in 2022. Add another 25% on that in 2023. All right. This one's a little harder to prove because according to Joe Biden, food inflation was only 2% this year. In talking to all of you, in watching countless other channels, I'm going to say this one is undetermined, okay? Because if the government's saying 2%, 25% is realistic. That's a possibility. I can't say I'm right. I'm not going to agree with their 2%. I can't say I'm wrong. So I'm going to say this one's a push, and I'll stick at 3, 4, and 1 at this point. Let's see how we do for the last 2. Number 9, you know we were going to get into politics somewhere. The last 2 were politics. Number 9, this one's probably not a big stretch. Joe Biden is going to be impeached by the House. The Senate will do nothing. Kind of figure that. The media won't make a big deal of it, but this will be happening. So unless Joe dies in office, Joe will still be president on New Year's Eve 2023, so he can continue his destruction of our way of life. Okay, I'm going to say pros to cons to this one. I'm going to call this one correct because there is strong evidence of the impeachment coming through. We're going to know it here in the next couple of weeks. Joe is still president here as of New Year's Eve, so this is correct. So at this point, I'm going to say 4, 4, and 1. Going into number 10. Am I above water or am I below water? But that brings us in to politics too, and number 10. Sometime in 2020, 2023, Ron DeSantis is going to announce a bid for president. Polls are going to continually show him beating Trump for the nomination. Trump's going to be pissed. Trump will start an official third party. Ron DeSantis announced the presidential campaign, no question. But then after that, forget it. I was wrong, okay? Polls haven't shown DeSantis leading like ever, and Trump hasn't had to start an official third party. That may come next year. Who knows? If the Republicans try to screw him out of the nomination. But this one is flat out in the wrong column. So the score for 2023 is 4 wins, 5 losses, 1 tie. I ain't making the playoffs. I ain't making a bowl game. Now my batting average would be good if I was in baseball. Maybe that's a positive. But no, my prognostication skills are for 2020, 2023, not that good. Uh, but again, it's not, I'm not trying to find easy ones and, trying to think about what's going to go on. Those are all things that I was preparing for in 2023. Did it work out to my advantage? Yeah, because now going into 2024, I'm prepared if any of those things happen. Okay. Figuring out what is going to happen is fun. That's about it. Okay. It's kind of entertaining for me to go back and say, okay, what did I say a year ago and how much of it actually happened? It's maybe a little bit of entertainment for you. But it's still an exercise that we should do every year or always, constantly. What do I think is going to happen tomorrow? And how can I get ahead of the game so if and when it does happen, it doesn't catch me by surprise? I can go, saw this coming, already got it taken care of, no big deal. But got to wear egg on my face where it belongs. My first time, I think, doing this, my winning percentage was under 500. I think I've had a 5-4, a 6-3, a 7 or 6, 5-4-1, 6-4, and a 7-3 year. So this one being 4-5-1. Hey, go ahead, blow me up. I deserve it. But hope you enjoyed the recap. And tomorrow I will tell you what I see coming for 2024. Have a good New Year's Eve, guys. Pinball out.